I'm Charmaine and 27 years old this year. I have a job I love as a talking point producer. And live pretty comfortably. But something has been bothering me for a long time. Life.
1, 6, 4, 5, 6. Woohoo! I got paid!
PJ! Damn!
Got a house, got money.
Is that all you want in life?
So I was getting very stressed about certain situations in work. So I thought like, oh, maybe I'll be able to learn some coping mechanisms through life coaching.
Definitely to understand myself better. Before I went to a life coach, I was plagued with a lot of emotional blockages. Because when I was young, my mom said, you cannot be angry, you cannot be sad, otherwise I'll cane you. And because of that, I feel like there is this fear towards the emotions that is within me.
Meet my pals, Shushan and Quinn, both in their 30s. They are part of a growing number of young people seeing life coaches. So how did this particular life coach help you with getting over your anxiety at work?
Through life coaching, I uncovered all these other things that made me realize that it wasn't really work that was stressing me out, but my perception of certain situations that was making me stressed out.
For me, definitely, I just feel like a lot of the power came back to me. Before that, I felt this emptiness inside of me.
So, I've always found life coaches to be relatively sus. I mean, why do I have to pay someone to guide me to do life? But clearly, I'm a bit too skeptical, right? Because it has helped some people. So, in this episode of Talking Point, I dive into the life coaching industry to find out, should I get a life coach? According to the International Coaching Federation, the coaching industry in Singapore has been growing steadily in recent years. In fact, ICF estimates that Singapore has one of the highest number of registered coaches in Asia. Does she look familiar? Well, this is Sylvia Chan. She was the co-founder of Night Owl Cinematics, which at its height had over 1 million subscribers, making it one of Singapore's biggest YouTube channels. But overnight,
I'm getting attacked by people like on my social media.
Sylvia's public persona and private life were under scrutiny after workplace harassment allegations emerged. Fast forward 3 years, she's now a life coach. Just 3 years back, you were publicly cancelled, right? And then all of a sudden you bounce back, you know, teaching someone else how to do life. What qualifies you to be a life coach?
That period of my life was one of the lowest. So I think my edge in life coaching is that I really have the empathy and understanding whenever clients come and say, I'm going through a big, difficult issue. I'll be like, hey, I've been through that and I understand you are not alone. But we also need like the real skills, you know, the certification. It wasn't like suddenly I became a life coach. It was a really long process of healing and then learning.
Okay, because it did look like it.
Correct. Yeah, but it was a 8 months program. So the fun thing is that there's a lot of different styles of life coaching as well. I love to do something that's very similar to shadow work.
What is shadow work?
So when a client comes, right, wow, I'm struggling with my kid, you know, or they can come and say that I have a problem with my boss, right? But these are all just surface level problems, right? What I like to do is to dive deep, but what is causing all this? For example, I have low self-esteem, or I'm actually very lonely. It requires a lot of vulnerability, a lot of honesty. But this also means it's very fast-tracked. We go straight to the root, and a lot of times in one session, they're done. It's very efficient, very Singaporean.
So you mean someone comes in for that one session, sits down with you for like 1 hour with that problem, and
Yes.
then they always walk out having that problem solved.
Yes.
What's the difference between me speaking to a life coach versus me speaking to my friends about my problems? Because I've spoken to friends and I do get enlightenment from there. I mean, if I can speak to my friends for free, you know, why should I pay for a life coach?
As a friend, you tend to be like, oh my god, babe, why did this happen to you? But as a life coach, there's a lot more honesty and objectivity.
Who are your clients?
Maybe like 30% would be Gen Zs, and then 60% would be millennials, and maybe 10% is like older.
Why is it a thing for millennials and Gen Zs to be seeing life coaches?
It is really like a shortcut to life. You want a targeted guide to something that you already know you want. So rather than going through all the difficult problems until you learn, I think it makes things a lot less painful.
So I've been skeptical about life coaching, but if there's a shortcut to my goal, I'll be more than willing to try it. So I think I'm ready to have a life coaching session with you.
We will go for a room that's a lot more private.
Yep, just kill all my shadows. Life coaching sessions are confidential, but for the purpose of this show, both Sylvia and I agreed to air this segment. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye. In 3 years' time, I'll be turning 30. By the time I hit 30, I just want to have a healthy amount of self-esteem. And I feel like a big part of it has to do with my body image.
What do you mean by body image issues?
So sometimes I feel that I'm bigger than I actually am.
So what's the voice in your head? What does it actually say?
I would look in the mirror and then I will see like certain parts to me looks bigger. I know that this doesn't make sense. I can't help but feel this way. So 2 years back, I was 60 kg. But prior to that, at my peak, it was like 75 kg.
How do you feel about this entire situation?
I do feel ridiculous.
I got a few questions and I want you to think about answers.
Okay.
Sylvia dug deep into my past experiences of being body shamed as a child. And just 30 minutes in,
What was wrong really with you being fat?
I only knew that I was told it was wrong. How would I, as a kid, have known that being fat is bad?
As a child, you knew nothing and you depended on your parents to tell you what is right and wrong. Correct. It was really, really, really so wrong. She should be very sorry.
I rationalized that what if she fat shamed me because she don't want me to be bullied.
So she bullied you instead?
Oh no, I didn't realize that.
You need to process all these things. You said you were ugly, you were fat, you died there. That's what you did. And it hurts because I can feel your hurt.
that was intense. I truly didn't expect to get so emotional and vulnerable. I left the session and called it a day.
Yeah. Cut lah.
You know, it almost felt like a therapy session, which really got me thinking, how is seeing life coaches different from psychologists?
Life coaches aren't cheap. Remember my session with Sylvia? I paid over 400 Sing dollars for it. Now, typically, life coaching can range from 200 to 450 Sing dollars per session, whereas therapy sessions by psychologists are between 80 and 200 Sing dollars. Hiring a psychologist definitely seems more affordable than hiring a life coach. What sets the work they do apart? Dr. Casey Lee is both a psychologist and a trained life coach.
So I went for a life coaching session and it was emotionally intense. I felt that we were really targeting the pain points of my issues. What's the difference between psychologists or a life coach?
So I imagine life coaches is someone that you'll seek when things are going all right, and then you want more, basically. For psychologists, it's a much broader kind of range. I have had individuals that that are unwell, that wants to work through their clinical condition. I also have individuals that's had clinical condition and they're managing the situation now that they want to get onto with their lives and of course perform as with anyone else. If you look at the core of it, to train to be a psychologist, it's a long, arduous process. It takes years of training, rigorous academic program, followed on by clinical attachment and supervised practice. Coaches, on the other hand, unfortunately, it's not formalized yet to that standard.
So are there practices which life coaches should not be delving into, which might otherwise cross into the work of psychologists?
That's actually quite tricky when it goes into area of clinical disorders, self-harm, OCD, depression, anxiety. I think that's definitely a line that coaches should not cross. However, it's quite hard to control where the session goes to. In general, there isn't a fixed sort of format to how life coaching should or shouldn't happen. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the fact that the industry as a whole, it's still very young.
When do I decide if I should be seeing a life coach or a psychologist? And
sometimes we want to just solve the problem. I would imagine a coach would be quite good in that arena. However, if things are really not going well, like your moods are in the way of your daily functioning, you couldn't get up, you're spending a lot of time hiding in the toilet crying, or you're getting very intense anger episodes or anxiety, I'm quite sure those are situations that I would recommend a psychologist.
so to be a life coach, there are actually courses available and I see different institutions providing them. This one says that I'll become an ICF certified coach in a year, okay.
The International Coaching Federation, also known as ICF, was founded in the US in 1995. It's a global federation that has crafted core competencies required of coaches. It also accredits courses and certifies coaches.
Let's see if there are others. Okay, here's another one. This one says that it's an online course, so I can just take it from home. But I have to pay over 5,600 Sing dollars. And then I'll become an ICF certified coach. This seems to be the best one by far. Only takes 6 hours and bonus, it's free. Okay, but it doesn't state if I'll be certified.
Since this is free and seems to be the most efficient way to learn to be a life coach, I'm going to sign up because I'm keen to know how someone can be trained to guide me how to do life.
Okay, he's telling me about, covering the different types of coaching. It's an overview of what coaching is. So maybe I'll just skip it. Okay, finally we're going to the content, but it's getting a bit questionable. I'm at the portion that is about holding clients accountable. And it is telling me that if my clients were to go back on their words, I should tell him things like, I feel like I'm wasting my time on you. I'm not sure if that's really helpful. I'm finally done. After 6 hours. Okay, so the course says that it's actually suitable for even experienced coaches, but honestly, I felt that it was rather basic. And I mean, I might actually be able to go and coach someone now, but you know, how well that turns out might be another story. And also another important thing was that after that whole 6 hours, right, there were no certifications by the ICF or, you know, any other organizations. So I was just wondering, what difference does certification then make? This is Emily, and she spent over 500 hours on coaching to attain this. A professional certified coach, or PCC, is the second highest coaching credential within ICF. Only 37% of the ICF coaches in Singapore have this certification. I want to ask her, what's the big deal about being certified?
Everybody can call themselves a coach, but a certified coach has gone through training and many hours of learning. In order to be an ICF credential coach, you need to go through 60 hours of training, followed by 100 hours of coaching. There is a coach education examination. After 3 years of getting our certification, we need to do a renewal. We have a code of ethics which all the coaches have to follow. It stipulates very clear things that the coach can or cannot do. So in case there's any concern, right, it can be raised up to ICF, and the ICF will look into it and investigate further.
Between 2022 and 2023, Singapore's consumer watchdog received 4 cases of complaints lodged against life coaches and self-help programs. Can't help feeling second thoughts about getting myself a life coach, especially if hiring one could potentially wipe off your life savings.
I spent a total of 50 to 60K in a span of 4 months.
In late July, a post on Reddit showed someone claiming he has lost his life savings, all because of life coaching. The Redditor, who wants to be known as Harry, has agreed to share his story, but he doesn't want to be identified by his former life coach.
I met this particular mental health group early last year. Back then, I was having depression. The volunteers, I thought they were like-minded people who are really brave for being vulnerable to share their struggles. Some of them had addictions to alcohol, some of them struggle with loneliness and depression, and they shared their transformation story about how the life coach has helped them. I was convinced to sign up for life coaching courses.
So how much do you spend on the life coaching sessions?
I spent a total of 50 to 60K in a span of 4 months.
Could you share with me the demographics of the people in his courses?
Mainly from late 20s to early 30s.
What goes on during these life coaching sessions?
The sessions itself are reflective in nature. After the first few sessions, I felt better because for the longest time, I always felt like a certain trauma is affecting my current life. So being able to face it felt freeing. So after the earlier life coaching courses, they approached me to sign up for the more advanced life coaching courses, which claims to help me clear deeper issues as well as being able to earn more income. The advanced courses were more expensive because they were physical group class, which claims to be more intensive.
Did they ever explain how those life coaching courses were going to help you earn more income?
Not exactly, but it was somewhere along the line that as you clear more issues in you, you can be more energized to do more things. So, although the life coaching sessions were effective, I wanted to stop mainly because I have already invested a huge chunk of my money and I already achieved my goal.
Did you stop?
No, I didn't. The life coach convinced me to take out even more courses. He basically convinced me to invest in myself more. It was 5 classes for $20,000.
But why were you willing to spend $50,000 to $60,000 on life coaching?
So at that point in time, I was looking for different perspectives and solutions to fix my life. I was eventually invited to volunteering for the life coach, and that's where things get more exploitative. We had events twice a month, and we had to bring in new people into the event. We will need to come up with a KPI where we have to stick how many people we want to bring. If we fall short, we have to pay the amount like for $100 per head. So for example, there's a KPI of 6 people, and I only bring 3 people. I have to pay $300.
In retrospect, do you feel like the life coaching sessions really helped you?
I believe those classes make people relieve those trauma to give more ammunition for the life coach to manipulate you by exploiting your weakness. So now that I left, I feel a lot better, and I realized that there are more things in life rather than trying to fix all your issues. One thing about life coaching is that they like to play on the idea that you will always have issues to solve, and it basically becomes an endless treadmill.
Within just 4 months, he spent over 50,000 Sing dollars on life coaching. It took him 6 months to leave. And the nail in the coffin was when his parents bluntly told him his life coach is not God. After the interview, I'm definitely more wary of who I share my weaknesses with. So, will I get a life coach? I think for now, I would stick to working on myself first before parting with a few hundreds of dollars just for a quick fix. I mean, isn't life all about the journey, and that would also mean trials and tribulations included?